So as we move further into this, we get into what we call complex numbers. So we want to simplify the following complex number. So what makes this a complex number? So if you notice, if we look at this problem, what this is asking us is, what number can we square that's going to equal a negative 100? Notice that this is not real. So what they create is what's called imaginary numbers. So this is going to represent an imaginary solution. So imaginary, what happens is we have what's called the imaginary unit. So the imaginary unit, it's going to be described as I. Now, what we learn also is I squared is going to actually represent a negative 1. So what I can do with this problem is I can change this to the square root of, I can change a negative 100 to 100 times negative 1. I'm allowed to replace the negative 1 with the imaginary unit, which is I squared. So this becomes 100 times this I squared. So notice that 100 is made up of two 10s, 10 times 10, 10 times 10, and I squared is made up of two i's. So notice that each one of those is a factor pair. So it means for every pair of 10s, I can bring out a 10. For every pair of i's, I can bring out one I. So the answer becomes this 10i. So this is called a complex number or also an imaginary number. So complex numbers, what happens is a complex number is going to be defined like this. It's going to have a plus bi, where a is going to represent some type of real number. B is going to represent some type of real number. But since it's connected to an I, this becomes an imaginary unit or an imaginary number. So A is going to represent a real number and BI is going to represent an imaginary number. And you cannot combine a real number with the imaginary number. They're not what we call like terms. So that is considered simplified. So I have to leave it in the form of this A plus BI. So notice here, since there's no real number present, that actually would have been 0. That would have been like 0 plus 10i. But we don't leave 0 the problem a lot of times. Now, on your calculator, there is a mode on your calculator. So let's see how there's this mode button over here, MODE. If I hit that mode button, notice that if I move down a little bit, see it where it's sequential, and then there's this real. Right now, my calculator is programmed to only kick out real numbers. But if I change this over to A plus BI, hit enter, it now will do what we call complex numbers. So this actually represents a complex number. So you actually can now use your calculator to do that. So again, if I want to quit this, quit's in blue, second quit. If I now take the square root of, there's a square root symbol there, it's in blue, negative 100, my calculator can now do that, and it'll give me this 10i. So this actually represents not a real number, but this is going to start representing what we call imaginary numbers, or the bigger world is, we call that a complex number.